Well, good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna. And this morning is all about dropping your rocks. It's all about dropping your rocks. How about that? The rocks that you have in your hand that you're prepared to fling and throw at somebody else. How about let's looking at this morning what Jesus has to say about that? Common text, but I think it needs to be heard again for the very first time. Well, I want to greet some folk and then get right into this morning's manna on this morning. Good morning, Brenda. How are you on this morning? Vicky, how are you on this morning? Dawn, how are you on this morning? Pamela, how are you? Minister Sant, how are you on this morning? Elder Mobley, how are you doing on this morning? This morning, Yvonne, how are you on this morning? Brother Nesbitt, how are you doing on this morning? This morning, I want to deal with drop your rocks. Drop your rocks. Good morning, Erica. How are you on this morning, Brother Jordan? How are you? Ori, how are you? What I have found is sometimes the church can be the most judgmental place. You know, persons that maybe on the street, unhoused individuals that may have an addiction issue, they tend to really coalesce around their situation, kind of like the lepers, if you will. They come around each other and don't necessarily throw rocks at one another. I don't always find that to be the case in the church. Another place, and I'm going to get to the word on this morning, I just kind of want to give a backdrop of it, a context of it. Another place that is such an affirming place, affirming community, not just the drug addict, not just the unhoused, not just those that may be dibbling and dabbling or living very freely and carefree in sin. They don't come at each other as much. What I found in the church is not that. The community that I also see that is in the gym. In the gym. When you go to a gym, I don't care whether you are overweight, obese, whether you are trim and fit with a six pack and biceps and all of that. No matter the machine you go on, there's always somebody there that would just out of nowhere spot you, tell you, oh, this is how it's best used. It's an affirming community. I don't always find that to be the case in the church. It seems like we are constantly looking for the speck in one another's eyes. So let's get to the text this morning. The text is John 8 and 10. It is at the end of an exchange and an engagement that Jesus has with the Pharisees and those who found a woman, caught the woman, been looking after the woman who has been found in adultery. They drag her to Jesus and they have an expectation that Jesus is going to do what the law says, stone her to death. Now, won't get into why the man hadn't been brought forward or anything like that. I will tell you, though, the Levitical law requires that the one who is the chief accuser has to take the biggest stone and begin the process. They are thinking that Jesus is going to be the chief accuser and therefore bring the biggest stone and begin the process of stoning her. Jesus flips the script. Here is John 8 and 10 and 11. Jesus talking. Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, sin no more. Let's break that down. The first thing I want you to grab a hold of, it is so easy to judge other people. I'm right about it all day. It is so easy to point our bony finger at others and their sin, their shortcomings. It is so easy to look out and say, shoulda, woulda, coulda with respect to them. Here's the second thing I want you to grab a hold of. And as easy as it is to judge others, the equivalent flipped is the difficulty factor it is to judge ourselves. Now, here's what the word says in Corinthians, as before they're about to take the covenant meal. He says, now, God says, now you need to judge yourself, do a self inspection. Because if you do a self inspection, then he's saying, I won't have to give you a test. But if I have to give you a test, you're going to fall short. And that's why some are sick and sleep around you. They fail to do a difficult thing, to take the beam out of their eye, as opposed to so looking at the specks in others' eyes. It's easy to judge. It's harder to judge yourself. And here's the third thing I want you to grab a hold of. I want you to notice the very end of the text. It says, neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, sin no more. Notice, they initially thought that condemning her will stop her. Condemnation, come here, Romans, and it says, now therefore there is no more condemnation to those who believe. Should we ascend that grace abound? God forbid. For more sin brings about more grace. Let's go back to the tail end of the text. The tail end of the text says, I don't condemn you, and from now on sin no more. Jesus is relying solely on grace to empower her from sinning, not condemnation. So when you want to ensure that somebody is walking the line, and maybe you're not, then give them some grace. What's your takeaway? Drop your rocks. Drop your rocks. The Lord be with you today. His face shine upon you and give you peace. This bless you. Bless somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. Share the manna. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more morning manna. God bless you. Bye now.